Cameron.
Hi, Nori.
How are you?
I'm pretty alright. Would you like me to look at you or the camera?
Either way, it's fine.
I'll do both.
Exactly. That's
I'm
great.
good. How are you, Nori?
I'm good. How was your week?
My week? Pretty okay. I was recovering from a cold, and then got over the cold, and then got a COVID booster, so now I sound cold again. But I'll be alright. But it's been pretty good. I hope yours has been as well.
It has. Thanks for asking. Where are you from?
I'm from around here, actually.
Oh, really?
I've lived in Richmond since 2013. Before that, I was in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Oh, wow. Huh. Well,
I am, in fact, the only of my clan, if you will, that is down in Virginia. Everyone else is back up in Michigan.
oh, wow. That's super cool.
Right? Yeah.
What are you majoring and maybe minoring in?
My current trajectory is majors in leadership studies and music.
Okay, so what's leadership studies about?
So leadership studies, I get that question a lot, believe it or not, because it seems not lots of people know about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's essentially the study of what leadership has been, is, and should be kind of deal. So like basically all of the classes in the curriculum can fall into one of those three categories. I should know I'm an ambassador for the school, so
Wow.
I get this to do this spiel a lot. I have a photo shoot at 1:30 actually. But so it's essentially studying kind of what leadership has been, like, you know, history more based, what it is, kind of studying current politics and policies, and then what it should be, more of like an ethical standpoint and sociological standpoint. So it attacks kind of the structure of how leaders are change makers throughout all those concepts. So it's a very nice mixed bag of a lot of different topics.
So do you study more of the political science side of leadership, or do you also go into like business or other fields?
I'm a fan more of the ethical side, because I find the socio-political thought more interesting than actual politics and policies. That's just my preference. Every leadership studies student has to take some in each of the fields, so like I know a decent amount of history, I have some information of like the political science side, but it's really a mixed bag too. I'm also in a class that's leadership on stage and screen, so it's like leadership in movies and theater.
Wow.
Which is pretty, it can be very widely ranged, which is one reason I like it. Very versatile.
Cool. So how are you liking our class so far with Dr. McGraw?
It is a blast. I mean, Tuesday we talk about the reading and actually delve into it. Thursday, playing in gamelan and all the other instruments has been so awesome. Granted, it's a fair bit of reading, but definitely a worthy exchange for just playing music every other class. That is so awesome in my opinion.
How's your part been for the Javanese like music that we've been playing?
I'm glad you asked that. I have a tendency as a percussionist to want to do like the complex, really difficult, like I can do like the intense patterns, and yet I'm on the gong. So I'm just bong. And at first I was like, man, I want to do the complex things.
Yeah.
But I realized the more, as time went on, I realized it's more important to have somebody who is good, so I credit myself, stay on the gong to make sure that is steady and reliable, so that you don't have somebody who's less confident with timing or anything beyond the gong. So
That would be me.
don't discount yourself like that. But so I've been enjoying my role as just the backbone, not having to have a huge part, because it is a change from what I usually do in percussion, and B, a good grounding technique.
Good. Glad to hear that. So what kind of music did you listen to growing up?
So I am a huge nerd, as everyone who knows me knows. So I listen a lot to the soundtracks to like video games. I also like orchestral things or symphonics. Generally, you're probably getting the gist that I generally listen to music without words in it, because while I do love a good vocal, like there are lots of singers that I very much like listening to, I generally go for lyricless music because I'm able to have it on in the background of something. If there's, say, a song from, I don't know, Poor Man's Poison or something like that, I have to actively listen to the words, and I'm like, listening to the song, I'm giving it the attention it needs, which you should. With soundtracks for whatever movie, games, symphony, what, pick your poison. You can have it on in the background, you can focus on other things, and the music just complements the mood. So it's really great for when I'm doing homework, or when I'm exercising, or something like that. It doesn't dominate the experience, it just complements it. So I really like that kind of music.
So correct me if I'm wrong. You generally like listening to music when you're doing something else, a different activity.
That's safe to say. You can see my headphones around my neck.
So you did tell me that you play drums and percussion, correct?
That's right.
Can you tell me about the experience starting out and where you are now?
Okay, so I began technically, in 5th grade when I was given a tiny little bell kit that was like a scale and a half, and I hit it like this, and I was a child, in fact. So I started with that in 5th grade because, as I recall, everyone in my elementary school had to learn some kind of instruments, and since I joined late, it was that or violin, and I was happy with either, so I was like, I guess I'll do that. Little did I know that would then precipitate my entire musical career, because I went to a middle school that was nowhere close to my elementary school, and I continued doing percussion, so I learned snare drum and the actual glockenspiel, xylophone, timpani, all that fun stuff. And then I picked up the drum set in roughly, we'll say 9th grade, because 8th grade was rough, but somewhere in between there. And so I've been going with both orchestral percussion and drum set since 9th grade of high school. So I definitely started as like a child who began percussion, but then I quickly rose to being I was told I was one of the better ones in my high school, but no, it's not a flex. But I did get into various leadership positions. I was able to help younger students, and it really helped kind of solidify my love of playing music. And here we are again today.
Cool, that's super cool. So you said you started more rigorous training in 9th grade. Do you think you saw any change in your taste in music when you started playing?
Good question. Well, I did, as all jazz musicians do, they slowly learn that they actually don't hate jazz. So I think when I joined the jazz band in 9th grade, I did start to appreciate jazz more, and I also felt more comfortable playing it. As for a basic rock beat or something, that's always been fun. And I feel like when it comes to music like that, the more fun it is to play or listen to like being performed as you're playing with it, then I'm more inclined to like it. Perhaps that is bias, I do not know, but it definitely shaped kind of my perception of just listening to it versus being a part of it.
Right.
And then so sometimes I'll listen to songs these days and be like, oh, the drum set part for that would be like really fun to play.
Yes, yeah.
And then because of that, I get more interested in the song. Step 1, step 2, you eventually get there.
Yeah. I kind of do like the same thing if I'm doing orchestral music, if I'm listening to orchestral music.
Oh, nice.
Like this would be the fingering. And, so you said it was either like the drums or the violin, like when you started out. So nothing, and you said you were fine with either, so there wasn't anything really in particular, or like why did you stick with drums and percussion?
That's a good question. I think I really did like the idea of playing music, and I really hadn't had a start up until then. Granted, I was 10. I didn't really have that many opportunities as a child, but like the idea of being a musician, not necessarily professionally, just being able to play music, was something that sounded really cool to me. And I was like, hey, I have a little experience on this, why not keep going with it? And the longer I went with it, the more I realized that it kind of fit for me, Also, instruments are expensive. I tried trombone for like a month, and my mother hated it, so I did not go back.
Oh my gosh, yeah. What does a typical practice session look like for you?
So these days, I am focusing a lot more on my orchestral percussion because although I also play drum set for the band, I generally have a handle on it. I'll practice if I have particular licks that are difficult for me, but in terms of like, if I were to go practice in the next hour, I would probably find a marimba or xylophone around, work on just my technique because I'm a little rusty on my specific techniques, and I've been taking private lessons here, and I've been kind of relearning technique because the old marimba and drum, snare drum patterns that I used to play are very militaristic and strict, and my current private lesson instructor is saying that I look like a cymbal monkey the way I play like this.
Like the little drummer boy, like
yeah,
twice.
basically. So he was like, "Hey, dude, chill out." So I've been having to kind of unlearn some things that I've known, which has been an added layer of difficulty. So I think I wouldn't like go practice a sonnet or anything right now. It would just be working on getting that more relaxed form better, because that's been it's a bit of a struggle having to unlearn things. So.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. So you said you've played like drum set and marimba. Like, what's it like having to kind of learn so many different instruments?
So people assume that because percussion is its own category as well as trombone and clarinet and what have you, that it's in the same sense of, oh, you play one thing and then whatever. Similarly, people also assume that the smaller percussion, like a triangle or a tambourine, doesn't really take much brain power, which there's not quite as much technique as, say, a violin. But it's not also just you hold the thing and you hit the thing. There's a specific attack you can do, there's a way to hold it. So all of those like smaller percussions and also the bigger percussions, when you combine them all together, it does give you a pretty good variation. At the same time, as you know, it's very hard to make music without multiple ensemble members. So even though the xylophone is tuned, most of having the skills of the various instruments, it's difficult to just like say, oh yeah, I play a bunch of instruments, I can do whatever I want. Because the triangle only makes so many noises. Yeah. So I think it is nice having the range to be able to play a bunch of different instruments, but at the same time, they all are they reach their full potential when they can play in conjunction with an ensemble.
Oh, okay. Wow. Because that's just so impressive, you know? Okay, and the last question, is there anything that I didn't ask that you think I should know?
Let's see. I had something at one point, but I forgot what it is.
That's okay.
Probably not.
Okay, well, thank you for doing this with me.
Yeah, thanks, Nori. It's been a pleasure.